once you get them and encourage them to participate and get involved in the group activities or the exercises or the games that we do running, you see their confidence go from here up to there. And we want to build confidence, build self-esteem, and we all know the physical and mental benefits of exercise. Gymnastics thing gave me good body awareness, stability, balance. Middle distance running gave me a good cardiovascular base fitness.
And in sales coaching, we say that caffeine kills sales.
You need to have some type of electrolytes or good quality salt, mineral. If you're just drinking still water, you're actually flushing your system.
Hello and welcome to Transformation Unlocked. Today we have Anthony Minichiello, superstar rugby league player for Australia. We've just chatted offline about Italy, also too for the Kangaroos. It was just an amazing time back when Anthony was playing. Also to have someone with Italian heritage was close to my heart. Anthony Minichiello, welcome to the podcast. How are you, sir?
Adrian, how are you, mate? Thanks for having me, mate. Pleasure to be on.
Absolute pleasure to have you, mate. It's funny how we bumped into each other. We were both in the airport on the way to Albury, funnily enough, where we're going back to next week.
Yes.
Yeah, and just a little bit of, we might dive right into that straight away before we jump into a bit of your story. So you're on your way, I think it was a Transgrid or someone, like it was a big...
Central Energy, actually.
Energy, right, yeah. Tell us when we bumped into each other, what were you doing on your journey there? You were going to present on fitness and health, is that correct?
Yeah. So I did a series of talks, health and fitness talks, nutrition talks and wellbeing talks with Essential Energy. And so we went out to country New South Wales and presented in person, and we did some talks online as well. But I always much prefer the in-person one where you can sort of interact and speak to people face to face. And that's why I ran into you at the airport, and we got chatting as well. So mate, it's always good to reconnect down the line and do something for you as well, which is great.
Yeah, mate, we're very excited. We'll have you speaking at our Blue Sky event next Wednesday. I forgot the day. Yeah, next week in Albury.
Yep.
And we're very excited. So we can't wait, to hear. We're going to hear a bit about it today as well. But I can't wait for it to be shared with all of our business owners who are going to be there next week. So tell us, we're going to jump back to the beginning now. I found out something, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is it true you grew up on a farm?
I did, yeah. So I grew up just outside Liverpool, southwest Sydney. So a little place called Preston's, where they were all 5-acre lots back then. Chicken farms, England Chickens was down the road. It's completely changed now. It's all housing on one side, and where we used to live, it's all industrial, big factories. But back, in the 80s and 90s, that was just all farmland. And, it was such a great childhood. We had, paddy bashes and motorbikes and slug guns, and every weekend all my friends from school would just come over, and we would jump in the old family cars, the Datsun 120Y wagon, which my parents gave to us as kids as the drive on the farm, and we had trailer bikes. Yeah, mate, it was awesome. We just used to go out, and we used to come back at lunch, and my mum used to cook us food, and then we'd just go back out all arvo, and I don't know how we didn't kill ourselves, but we had some fun, that's for sure.
It's another world. Like, I grew up with a very, very similar childhood. I grew up in Canberra, moved to Sydney in 99, and I've now moved back it's actually Bungendore in the regional area outside of Canberra. But me, my brother, and all my cousins and family and friends all grew up on a farm, slug gun. Well, I'll tell you another story later on. But yeah, way more of an outdoors kind of life, and we've been going back to that for our kids of late.
Yeah,
while we've recently moved out of Sydney, but you can't put a price on that. It was so great to have that freedom and that responsibility, and like you say, you learn. I think this is one of the biggest problems with young guys and girls these days. We don't get a chance in our life to mitigate or manage risk. We get put in a kind of a cotton balled world. And you don't learn how to go, well, if I do that too much, I'm going to hurt myself. Can you elaborate a bit on how you had a brother?
I totally agree with that. I think, I work with kids every day. I run PE programs in schools. I'm sure we'll talk about MiniFit down the track. Yeah, you can see it. I see it every day where, backyards are getting much smaller. People are living in units. So getting outdoors for young children these days is actually a little bit harder than what it was 20, 30 years ago. I was always outdoors. I was never inside. As soon as the street lights went off, then we had to go inside for dinner. movement and running around and, just playing naturally with a footy or stick or whatever it may be, but trail bikes, all that type of stuff was just normal. And you develop a natural fitness, movement all the time, always moving. And now the sort of the sedentary lifestyles are getting worse and worse, where we're sitting down more often than being outdoors. And as you mentioned earlier, being outdoors where you're scouring around the 5 acres and you could come across a snake, or you're playing a bit too dangerously, and you soon find out that you could hurt yourself. So you regulate your own sort of actions there, and you learn from it.
Absolutely.
I had to chop wood. That was one of my chores. And if I got loose with it, then you got an axe in your hand, right? So
Absolutely. At least it's pretty quick smart.
Yeah, you learn from the lived experience and stuff like that. So I think, growing up on a farm was just an awesome experience. And to be honest, when I actually signed with the Roosters, I was always at the top echelon of the fitness groups. And that was always because I never sat inside playing computer games, or there was no mobile phones back then, but there was PlayStations and all that. But I didn't sort of gravitate towards those things. I was always outdoors, kicking a footy, running around, riding bikes, and just built a natural fitness up within myself.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and it could be my aging memory, but at one point were you not considered the fittest man in rugby league?
Well,
And it's a bit
I always loved that, like that pre-season and the fitness drills. I always enjoyed it, right? Because I was naturally fit, but my two sports before I even started rugby league was gymnastics and athletics. So I was tumbling and trampolining for state at gymnastics, and then I was going the state for middle distance, so 1500, 3K.
wow.
But both of those sports laid me an awesome foundation to propel myself in whatever chose a sport I wanted to choose after that, and that so happened to be rugby league. So the gymnastics thing gave me good body awareness, core stability, balance. I was tumbling, so it was that fast twitch fibers that really kicked in. And then the middle distance running gave me a good cardiovascular base fitness. And those two things paired together, when I stepped into rugby league at 10 years of age, I found myself signing with the Roosters at 16 and
Wow.
just kept progressing up the chain.
How does it work when you sign it at that age at 16? Like for some people listening have got, I know my brother's kids are right in, he's actually playing rugby league and rugby union, and some others are just not into it whatsoever. So what does it actually mean when you sign at 16? Are you getting some sort of a small payment, or are they just keeping you under their wing and training you a little bit more? How does that look?
Yes. I was 16. I was in year 10 at Liverpool Patrician Brothers. And our school at Liverpool Patrician Brothers finished in year 10. Then you had to move on to the brother schools or sister schools, or co-ed. It's called All Saints down in Casula. I think it was October, and I actually got invited to a 2-day camp by the Roosters and Arthur Beetson, who was a recruitment officer at the Roosters at the time, where we did a training camp, and then we played each other. And then a couple of weeks after that, I got offered a 2-year contract. And I remember it was 10 grand for the first year, 10 grand for the second year. And there was a bonus in there if I made the New South Wales under 18s was another 10 grand. And I thought, all my Christmases would come at once, I was sick of being I'd get for 10 grand. I'm like, this is great. So I had an opportunity to stay with the Western Suburbs, which is my junior club, or head over to the East. And, Arthur Beetson, I developed a great relationship with. He's a legend of the game, legend of the Roosters. And I made my decision to go to the Roosters. And that was 2 years. 10,000 was the first contract. And then I was lucky. I actually did make the New South Wales under 18s in my first year. 20 grand. I thought I was killing it.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic. Like, it's great to know, because we can't. When there's outsiders looking in, you kind of don't understand how it works and what it's all about.
Yeah, 100. And also, to that story, when they offered me the 2-year contract, I said to my parents, "This is it. I want to play first grade for the Roosters." I sort of just honed in on it. But my parents, and especially my dad, said, "No, you can obviously go for it, but you need to either finish year 11 and 12 or go get yourself a trade."
Yep.
And I said, "Oh well, let's go get a trade." So my dad drove me around I was keen on woodwork back then, so he drove me around to cabinet makers, all around the Western Suburbs. And everyone, I had to leave early. I had to leave at 3 to get into the East for training. And most of them all said no, except one guy out at Austral who said, yeah, if you start a bit earlier, you can finish at 3, you can travel in and train. So I was working out at 13th Avenue Austral. I would go further west, work there all day, and then travel in at night, train for the Roosters, come home, eat dinner, go to bed, do it again. I did that for 3 years. So that gave me a good, strong work ethic and a foundation. My parents always taught myself, my brother, and my younger sister, you don't get anywhere in life if you don't have a strong work ethic. You got to work hard for it. So that was always instilled in us.
I think and also to ground you, because I know when you get stuck in that kind of, it doesn't matter if it's football or the upper echelons of any industry, even especially for some of the guys listening are really good at sales, and they start to earn more money and get a lot of credit for, oh, you did this. You start to believe the hype around yourself and you're not grounded. And that can be so dangerous for young people, especially the trades that kind of blow the money and they don't spend it well and they think that their shit doesn't stink, excuse the expression. But having to train and work, would you agree that kept you kind of grounded and humble?
100%. And that was down to my parents, right? Because if it was my decision back when I was 16, I would have just went, yeah, I'm going to train for the Roosters. But I would be lazing around doing nothing all day, training at night, doing nothing all day, which, some kids did that. But that working all day, coming into training all night, it gives you a bit of a steely mindset, that, the more work you put in, the more benefit you'll get.
I think it also too shows you, if I don't make it at football, and there's nothing wrong with being a tradie for the rest of your life, but
no, yeah, 100%. That's right.
It's going to be a much, much more, I guess, adventurous life.
Although I remember my TAFE teacher, because we used to do TAFE every Thursday as an apprentice, obviously, I would leave at afternoon tea. So TAFE finished at 5, but I would leave at afternoon tea to go to training, and he sort of cottoned on after a few weeks. And mate, what are you doing? You're always leaving at afternoon tea time. I'm like, no, I'm playing for the Roosters. I'm playing footy. And he goes, mate, come on, that's not a career, mate. This is a career right here.
Did you want to say g'day to him today? What's his name?
So, yeah, it's funny.
Too good. No, that's awesome. So, okay, so you grew up on the farm. I love that. I really can resonate and empathize with that. So there, you've got quite a lot of things happening in your world. You've got MiniFit, I think, which would be a great one to segue to. Obviously, the kids are so important. We touched on that a moment ago. Tell us all about MiniFit before we jump into the other stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, so, I went through a few injuries through the middle part of my career, and then I sort of thought, gee, if I don't come back and play rugby league again, what am I going to do? Obviously, I had the trade as, I got my certificate there as a shop fitter detail joiner, but I sort of got a taste of, the health and fitness industry. And, I love working with kids. The Roosters used to hold holiday clinics and clinics for kids all the time. And, I just sort of, I enjoyed it quite a bit. And so I think in 2010, I just registered the name MiniFit. And then 2012, I got someone to help me with some school programmings and saw that some schools were starting to outsource their physical activity. So I was still playing at this stage, and I had one school on board, sort of in the eastern suburbs, and that was sort of just ticking along. But then once I retired in 2014, I went into the holiday clinic space, running holiday clinics for leagues, clubs, RSLs, and bowling clubs. Love it. And that still continues to this day, and that's going really well. And then, reconnecting with an old Year 6 teacher of mine at Preston's Public School, who taught over, obviously Southwest Sydney, but then overseas, and then coming back, and we've aligned a lot of the different PE programs that we run to the syllabus now. And we run 10-week programs in schools for special needs kids, for mainstream kids. So then, and that's going really well. That's growing, and it's so important to educate the young children on how to grow up healthy and strong. Because we spoke about how smaller backyards, smaller houses, digital devices. That's huge. So getting them out and interacting face to face again, making new friends, and having fun while they're moving their bodies is important. But we have 5 foundations at MiniFit, and obviously that's physical activity. Then we've got nutrition, hydration, sleep, screen time, and we try and educate the kids on how to grow up healthy and strong there with those tips.
You just touched on something I didn't think about until you just said it. Also too, once you've, I think one of the best, I'll speak for myself. I don't want to prescribe for other people that I don't know. If I'm feeling a bit stressed or anxious or a bit of anxiety, training is amazing. You just blow out the cobwebs. You don't feel that stressedness anymore.
Yeah.
And I think for young kids, because they've become so accustomed to making friends online, when they meet people in real life, they've got that anxiety is really high. But if they're doing the training, like you're saying, that comes down and their social skills start to become a lot more natural.
Well, yeah, you're 100% right. With our programs that we run, like, you know, there's always some young aspiring athletes and they're all over it, right? And they're great. They're great. What we try and work on too is the kids that might be a little bit nervous and, you know, that they might have a little bit of low self-esteem. Once you get them and encourage them to participate and get involved in the group activities or the exercises or the games that we're running, you see their confidence go from here up to there. And that's what we want. We want to build confidence, build self-esteem. And we all know the physical and mental benefits of exercise. But if we can do it in a fun way for the young children, then there's a cascade of other benefits that come along the way. Not to mention, you know, better concentration in classrooms for the children because they've got a lot of energy, you know. So trying to, you know, I've got one girl and she loves sports, loves it, which is great. But if I leave her on her iPad, she can be on the iPad all day until I have to manage it, you know.
It's engineered that way, man. Yeah, I've got 2 young kids, and if we're busy on a school holidays, they will stay there from dawn till dusk, and it's horrible.
You really got to manage it and set some boundaries around it. Otherwise, they can get locked in and they get tranced by it. And like you ask them a question, they don't even hear you because they're just so fixated on the screen.
Yep.
And then, you know, once you take it away for a bit, they start playing, they start painting, they start, you know, that's, you got to find the balance because obviously that digital.
We're a digital world, though. You're right. We can't take it out forever.
That's it. So have some boundaries around it, have some rules around it, and find that balance for you.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome. Tell us a little. We'll jump from what you're doing now. We'll go back to your footy career, and we'll come back to the presentations you're doing for corporates and trades and whatnot. So, how long was your career? How many games did you play? Also, too, I'd love to know when you started and what year you finished as well.
Yeah, so I made my first grade debut at the year 2000 at 19 years of age. And retired 2014. So I had 15 first grade years.
Wow.
102 games.
Yep.
I was lucky enough to play for the Blues 11 times, play for Australia 19 times, and then play for Italy about eight or 9 times, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the Roosters. So I was at the Roosters for 19 years.
Wow.
Well, it was just such an amazing club. I signed as a young boy, right, and I retired as sort of definitely a grown-up man there. So it was a wonderful club to be a part of. I'm still involved in it now, which is fantastic, and it was awesome.
So, when you be in an elite club there that spent that many years there's many people that spend that many years at one club.
Not really, no. It's a full business these days. So everyone chops and changes and chases a bit of money here and there. So we do, though, our club at the Roosters, we do have 4 300-game players that have played at the club for over 300 games, and no other club in the history has achieved that. There's been 3 at, say, Melbourne, maybe the Broncos, maybe one other. You know, the Roosters have 4 300-game players, which is a cool stat.
Wow. What's some of the highlights you had through your football career, like the State of Origin games, or I mean, you're winning a few?
Well, you know, like when you actually get to the professional level, the goal is to win a premiership, is to hold the trophy up at the end of the year, because you start preseason in November the year before, and all your focus and energy is trying to get to that last day the first weekend in October the year after, and that's the ultimate goal, is to get to a grand final and win one. I was lucky enough to play in 6 grand finals. Yeah. But I got the chance to hold up the trophy twice. Once when I was 22, so I was really young. And then again when I was 33 at the end of my career when I was captain. And that one's pretty special because you've gone through the ups and downs of your whole career and you get the chance to share it with family and loved ones and stuff like that. So that was an amazing memory. Obviously representing your state and winning 3 series in a row back in 03, 4, 5 was awesome. You just get bonded with the players that you do it with. Playing for Australia and touring over in England, they're just, it's awesome time.
All the boys on tour would be nuts.
Great stories over there. And, it was good fun. And then, towards the end of my career, representing my heritage, which is Italian. My dad was born over there, my mum's parents as well. So that was, and then getting to play with my brother in the Italian team was cool because I played against my brother my whole
time. He's your younger brother, isn't he?
He's younger, 18 months younger. He did start out at the Roosters. I played 1 game with him in 2002, and then he moved to South Sydney. Then he moved to the Titans. Then he moved.
Yeah. And then current name
Titans.
Yeah. Then he.
Competitive.
Back then, footy was always on. There's no doubt about that. And it got pretty competitive when friends were over, and or even just 1-on-1. We used to break windows all the time with the footy. Used to get screamed at a lot, but he used to. So I was middle distance as a young kid, and he ran for stake 100, 200. But then as he got older, he became more stocky and bigger than me. So he moved into the forwards, and I was at back. So whenever we played against each other, we didn't cross paths too much. He got to tackle me more than I got to tackle him because I was a fullback. So, but we had some good tussles there.
Yeah, lovely. So now coming forward to the corporate stuff and what you're helping us out with next week. Tell us more about that. What's that look like? How long you've been doing it for? Also, too, we'd love for anyone listening that'd love to get you to speak at their place. We'd be happy to connect you guys as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, as I retired. A former coach of mine, Matt Elliott, we became good mates. He started sort of a wellbeing program, and he got different mentors to speak. And I speak on nutrition a lot. I actually studied nutrition through COVID, actually, and become a nutritionist. I'm sort of that passionate about it because, I went through 4 years of injuries, and 3 of those injuries are spine injuries, and 1 was a serious leg injury. And that's when I started to really educate myself and move from just player into leader through the middle part of 2006, 7, 8, 9. Mm-hmm. And once I dived deep into the nutrition space, and I started practicing these 4 simple steps that I'm going to share with everyone next week. And I just seen my body start to transform. I saw it start to recover. I've got MRIs to prove it all, and even doctors were saying that can't happen, and it did through consistent practice of some simple steps with nutrition and recovery. So that really put me on a path of seeing my own spine heal, then sharing my story and helping others. And that was started to be pretty passionate about it. So I did a lot of talking with Matt Elliott's program, along with building up my own kids fitness business. And I continue to speak on it to this day, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of the guys listening to us today, all about how to make more money and how to have a bigger business, and money is great and it's fantastic. But if your health goes, there's absolutely it doesn't really help us at all.
The number one thing, if you don't have your health, you really got nothing, basically. I try to get people to understand, like, if you're functioning up around, 90%, 80-90% each day, and your gut microbiome is flying, you're digesting your food perfectly, you've got natural energy, you've got mental clarity, you're going to be more productive at work. There's no doubt about it. Like, if you come in and you just feel clouded and you feel tired all the time and dependent on snacks and coffee and all that type of stuff, your productivity at work is going to be lagging. There's no doubt about it. So if you can focus on some of these things to improve your own health, then there's huge benefits that will come from your work life as well.
We're singing from the same book, mate. I'm massive. Like, we do business coaching, but what we're probably best known for is sales coaching. And in sales coaching, we say that caffeine kills sales. And the reason and it really bugs me that all these young guys, I love my listeners, but one of the things that I hate seeing is they're living on Red Bull, Mother, all these energy drinks. And I don't want to kill any of your future sponsorship deals, mate, but
No.
yeah, you do it down that way anyway, but they are absolutely frying their brain, frying their gallbladder, frying like every single part of their internal organs. And also too, they get in front of a customer and they're talking at them, not communicating, not connecting heart to heart. So I'm a massive proponent of look, I've still got my Italian heritage. I have one espresso a day, and that's my limit. I had the other day nearly.
Yeah, I'm one coffee a day, sometimes two, but I'm never after lunch, never coffee after lunch. And then, every month or so, I just have a week off, no coffee. Set myself a challenge and just go no coffee for a week. So I like to mix things up a bit. And, it's through my talk, people start to understand the importance of, good quality produce going in, fueling your body. And like a simple car analogy is, if you had a sports car, would you put diesel in it, or would you put a shitty unleaded, or would you put the high octane unleaded? There's so many. Yeah, that's the same with our bodies. If you keep putting in ultra processed foods, then you're building your body out of mush. You get low energy. Then you think you're dependent on these drinks and the coffee, but once you start fueling the body in the right way, you don't need afternoon coffee. You don't need afternoon naps. You don't need afternoon snacks. Your stable energy will just flow through, and you'll just keep, achieving goals after goals after goals.
It's really interesting you said that. We had Dr. Charlie Teo, the neurosurgeon, on 2 days ago. So his episode will probably go out after yours, because of just obviously what we have next week. But he said, and he said, even up until recently, medical doctors that do a medical degree don't do any study on nutrition at all, which I find phenomenal. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Like I would not go to a GP. I'm not bagging GPs, but I wouldn't go to a GP to, get some health and fitness advice or nutrition advice. That they are specialists in what they do. Yes, that's great.
For when you see.
Yeah. But, I work with an integrative doctor that ties in everything, that looks at the body as a whole. And then, a good, nutritionist, dietitian knows the power of natural foods and how it can heal the body. And look, next week, I'll show you MRI images of before and after.
I love it.
And people will be amazed at the difference in spine of the health of my spine. So, and it's just, what it is. It's like, it's nothing revolutionary. What nutrition is consistent practice. That's all it is. It's consistency.
Love it, man. It's the same as business. Like, the funny things, all good things come from consistent. It's not what you do once in a while, or you do really well once. It's, you say day in, day out, get that muscle memory going, because it makes a profound difference. Something you said there, actually, I'm going to ask you a strange question. Have you ever heard of food signatures?
Food signatures? Now, talking about that.
Yeah, I found this out a few years ago, and it's absolutely fascinating. So have you ever heard that carrots are good for your eyes? Have you ever heard that expression?
Yeah.
Cut a carrot in half and you look at it, it actually looks like an eye. It looks like the pupil and the iris and that. You heard walnuts are good for your brains.
Yeah.
What's a walnut look like?
I know, yeah, 100%.
All of a sudden, I discovered this a few years ago, and I went, how can this be right in front of it? Kidney beans are good for your kidneys.
Yeah.
They're called kidney beans, for crying out loud.
Yeah, see, I even take that a step further. As I mentioned earlier, I work with an integrated doctor. So I do blood work every 3 to 4 months. I do a gut microbiome test once a year. And last year I did some genetic testing.
Love it.
So, and that all ties. And so my supplement regime, and my foundation is nutrition. Then my supplement, which supports it, regime is all geared around my own body.
Love it.
And the genetic testing was really interesting because it shows how you're methylating your food. So eating food, the body has to go through a process called methylation, which converts it into usable energy. Some people, or most people, have some methylation issues in converting some types of foods into usable energy. I had a slight one, which I supplement towards now. And most people have these slight issues, but never know about it. So, and then when, years down the track, or maybe 50s or 60s, they come up with a slight issue, or they come up with a disease of some sort, autoimmune or some chronic disease, right? But then they go see their GP, and the GP will treat the symptom, not the root cause of it all. So that's why personally for me, I work with an integrated doctor to look at the root cause of everything. I've got 3 years of my own health data now that we're on top of, and it's just maintenance. That's all it is.
Mate, that's brilliant. We're going to do an episode with another doctor very soon. His name, Dr. Evan Skoboda. I think it's going to happen next. We'll record it next Friday, and he and I have been working together. It's more on the mental side,
Yep.
But all disease known to man is created through inflammation. And when you can't methylate and you can't digest these foods, that's what creates methylation, which creates all disease.
But the most comprehensive test that anyone can do for their own health is the gut microbiome test. I know you got your own stool and send it away. It gives you, there's trillions of bacteria in your stomach, and it's all ever fluctuating with the food you eat, the environment you surround yourself in. So that's why we do it once a year, just to keep updating and changing maybe prebiotic fibers, probiotic fibers, and different protocols to make sure everything's in balance. Because if something's out of balance, or you've got, some inflammation lying in your gut, or you're not digesting your food properly, or there's a bit of leaky gut happening that you don't even know about at a certain stage, it'll get picked up with that gut microbiome test, and you can adjust it early. Because there's a famous saying that all disease starts in the gut.
Yeah. Dr. Charlie Teo said it literally 2 days ago. There's a direct brain-gut relationship.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, we've been exploring that now, I think, for about a decade, but it's not well publicized. So yeah, love it, mate. This is awesome. So tell us, when I've got to be a little bit of I wouldn't be a good interview host if I didn't give you a bit of hard time. Did you play in the 2010 grand final?
I did, yes.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. I enjoyed. I'm gonna say, for all the listeners that don't know,
one of Morris twins was out by a meter, and they just let it play, and they scored.
I'm not. Mate, if I didn't take that grand final, we're not going to get one for a very long time. And I've got another bone to pick with you. When I bumped into you at the airport in January, you told me we were recruited well. Our season's not going that crap.
I actually thought that they'll be fighting for a top 8 spot, the Dragons. But yeah, I don't know. It's
I'm blaming you, mate. I'm sorry, but yeah,
it's been a tough season, isn't it? Even for the Roosters, it's so tight though these days, and I think every team is beating everyone. And you can see that bottom half of the 8 and the next 4 teams underneath that, it's you win 2 or 3 games on the trot and you're back in the 8.
Yeah, look, it's fascinating you say that. You won't be there on the second day, but I'm going to do a short presentation on the second day about winning by a nose, the concept of winning by a nose. So everyone's in the race, but the difference between first position, and I won't go too much because I don't want to ruin it for the people that might be listening today for next week, but it is such a little bit to get that, like you said, the flag, the premiership, etc. You're all in the game. You're all in premiership, but the difference of the rewards, the spoils, if you just go that little bit harder, or you blink it, you focus, like you say, you just get.
Well, I would say, like everyone, like in professional sports, not only rugby league, in any sport, everyone is pretty evenly matched up physically. Yeah. What's up here and how you can prepare mentally, or how you can leave something aside that's not going to affect you in a game. We park that, leave that, and just focus on your job. That's where you get.
That's the extra mile, isn't it? They say there's less traffic on the extra mile because no one wants to go there. So
that's right.
Yeah, awesome. So, mate, tell us now a little bit more. Like we've mentioned, obviously the corporate stuff you're doing that you're going to come in. You already spoke about that there. What about coaching mindset? How do you personally? You're coaching young kids. You're talking to people at the Roosters and young guys at the Roosters. How do you get the most out of people?
So, when speaking to some of the academy kids at the Roosters, it's always hard to try and get them to believe in the power of nutrition and lifestyle modalities to really help you propel, to get the best out of yourself and your body. Because, when you're young, you recover like that. Like it just happens. So, you could eat whatever you want in your early 20s and still feel fine. But, my story was, that's what I did. And I was genetically blessed from my parents, but I really burned the candle at both ends. And I had 4 years, I just come crashing down to earth. And I had 4 years of injuries. Don't let that be you. Try and work and educate yourself on why this is important. So with young kids, that's always a challenge because, they feel good already. But with the younger kids, it's just basic steps like, how important eating your vegetables are to young children, or how important getting 10 to 12 hours sleep for young kids, for their recovery and their brain development. Getting an hour of exercise or any type of movement in each day for young children, drinking water as their primary drink. All those little tips is what we set the young primary school kids. And, I love that space because, for me, sitting in an office every day, it's hard. I've got to get up and move and do things. So running around with kids most days is good for me because I'm getting my movement in, steps in. But, also trying to set these kids up and give them sort of healthier habits for their future.
Yep. Yeah. So it all starts early days. If you don't get in the early days, it's really hard to turn around when you're in your 30s or your 20s or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've kind of, it's so much easier to build young men than to fix broken old men. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's 100%.
As we bring this to a conclusion, what kind of final statements, questions, or things you'd like to say to the listeners about performance, health? And before we jump into that, I do remember one other thing that I remember you going on TV at one point. I don't know why this stuck in my head. And you were all for coconut water as your hydration. Is that still the deal, or do you prefer water over coconut water?
I definitely prefer water, but you need to have some type of electrolytes or good quality salt minerals, right? Because if you're just drinking still water, that's just a diuretic. You're actually flushing your system out. You need good quality salt or some type of minerals or electrolytes to actually hydrate the body, so every cell in your body can take that hydration in. If you're just drinking normal still water, you're actually just flushing it out. Coconut water does have natural electrolytes already in it. But as I sort of evolved and keep learning, so coconut products might affect other people differently compared to me.
Yeah.
So everyone is individualized. So if you're focusing on hydration, then I have a bottle that I carry around every day, and I fill that up and I put just a pinch of Celtic sea salt in that. I start the day with a good pinch on my tongue and about 300 to 400 mils of water. So I'm hydrating the body as I wake up, because you're mildly dehydrated from hopefully 8 hours sleep each night. So hydration is vital as well, and also people may think, I'm hungry, but you're just mildly dehydrated. So just have a glass of water, and that will sort of set you on your way and give you a little bit of an energy boost.
Yeah, I must admit, I've done that. Feel like I'm starving, smash 2 glasses of water, and then I'm not hungry again. I'm into the fasting as well. I think we're probably listing.
I'll definitely dive into that next week as well, and the benefits, and that's a definite tool you can incorporate into your lifestyle, but also finding the balance with it all as well. So everyone's different, but finding your balance and giving your digestion a rest is vital as well. It's so important for longevity.
Yeah, lovely. All right, mate. Any final, I started this and then I thought about the coconut water. So any final statements or closing statements you'd like to say to the listeners today?
No, well, thanks for listening first and foremost. Yeah, like just consistent habits, good habits. I always say with nutrition, work towards the 80-20 rule. If you're doing 80% nutrient-dense foods, good quality produce, and then you have 20% where the weekend's a bit relaxed, or you have a function on, if you do that consistently, then you'll have a strong foundation, and it will set yourself up even if you go outside that and you just come back into it. So if you do that consistently, that's where you'll get the results. Nutrition's not like a quick fix, but I have seen people reverse type 2 diabetes, reverse autoimmune disease, lose 7 kilos in a week, go on to lose 80 kilos. But everyone is completely different. But if you do things consistently, it's you don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Minichiello, I can't thank you enough, mate, for coming onto the podcast today. This has been amazing. And I can't wait to see you in person again next week. And maybe in 12 months, we'll get you back and we'll see what you've been up to after a 12-month spell.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to next week, mate. So I appreciate it.
Awesome, mate. Thanks again.